inside this box is the brand new Canon R5 Mark II. And you're probably expecting me to unbox this, to show you the camera, to talk about all the cool new features, and tell you how this new camera will make you a radically better photographer. But the reality is, it won't. This camera is a tool, much like the R6, the original R6 that I'm filming on now, or my R5, original R5 that's over here. These are tools to take photos, to get a job done. And I know for a lot of people, these are very expensive tools. Not everyone has the luxury of being able to afford something that is 6,500 Canadian dollars. Now, some of you will watch this video and think, oh, well, great. Well, Canon sent him this camera. Canon is sponsoring him, or he's selling out because they're somehow paying him. But the reality is I paid for this camera with my own money. I got no discounts. No one is paying me to talk about this. I bought this camera because 9, 10, 12 years ago, 2009, how many years ago is that? 2010 is when I bought my original Canon Rebel T1. And I think 2 years later, I upgraded to the Canon 70D. And for years, almost 10 years, I shot on APS-C, on a crop sensor, relatively inexpensive camera with inexpensive lenses. And today, like back then, the decision was the same. I bought that camera because it was the camera that I wanted to use. I remember at the time I had some family members who were shooting wedding photography, and I remember the big white lenses that they had. That's what I didn't even know what a 70-200 was, but that was the lens that they were shooting weddings on. And for whatever reason, that left a really big impression on me. Look at this. Got a manual. Does anyone read the manuals anymore? The funny thing is, after all of these years, Canon is still using the exact same charger. That was not as impressive as I wanted it to be. But the Canon chargers notoriously make a noise when the camera's done charging. It's that high-pitched noise. I'm actually surprised they haven't switched to some sort of like USB charger like some other brands, but we've got a charger. It's funny because the other day I was going back through my Lightroom catalog. I think I have hundreds of thousands of photos, but some of the older ones are on an archive drive. And I was going through and just looking at some of the photos that I shot on my original T1 and on my 70D. And a lot of those photos still hold up. Mind you, they didn't have as much dynamic range as the newer photos that I now shoot on the R6 and the R5, but it's sometimes still fun to go back and see how my photography has improved, and also how my editing has changed, because the way I edited back then is definitely not the way that I edit now. So I learned recently that these little caps that you have for your battery, I've always just thrown them out because like, why do I need a cap once I've unboxed it? But apparently when you fly with your batteries, you're supposed to not have the contacts exposed. So you're actually supposed to keep that, but I never do that because usually I'll just put them inside a little bag and assume that's good. But these are the new LPE, let's see if I can get it in focus. Is it getting it? LPE6P. So these are higher capacity, higher discharge batteries. And when I was in the store today, I asked, hey, do you have any more of these? And they said they're actually all on order. So I did place a pre-order for a bunch of these batteries. Not that I'm planning to use the 8K crazy video modes, but some of the old batteries that I have that are the original LPE6 batteries are dead. I actually had one die a few months ago and I still haven't recycled it, but I do need a few batteries. So I ordered, I think, 3 more of these. Now I will get asked, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just plug this in right now so it can start charging. I get asked quite a bit to review specific cameras, whether it's a Canon camera or a Nikon or whatever it is. And usually they end up being older models that maybe aren't as popular, or maybe they're more readily available because they're used and they're cheaper. And a lot of those cameras I have not tested. And so it's impossible for me to give you an answer on whether or not that camera is the right camera for you. And I would say 90% of the time, if it's a camera that you've thought about, if it fits your budget and it comes with the lenses and the accessories that are right for you, you've probably already made your mind up about that camera. And I would say you probably don't need anyone, whether it's me or someone else, to validate your decision. If that camera solves a problem for you, if it will be the camera that allows you to just get out and go shoot photos, as I like to say, then it is probably the right camera for you. How do I do this? How do I just like... The strap, of course, does say EOS R5 Mark II, so that when you put that on your camera, you can go out and you can flex that you have the latest shiny piece of equipment from Canon. So will I use it? I still have my R6 II strap that I haven't even opened. Look, I never even opened the R6 Mark II strap. So if the camera is just a tool, if it's the same as every other camera that I own, then why did I get it? Part of the reason is that it's expected. You watch this channel, you wanna kind of see the latest camera. Even if I don't cover every camera, it's kind of expected that I would get the latest Canon camera. And at one point, I remember the top search term for my channel, for people searching on my channel, was like Anthony Canon R5. And I hadn't even made a review about it yet, because this was like maybe like a year and a half ago. And I'm not someone who just wants to jump in and review cameras. I'll use a camera and show you the photos that I'm capturing, because I feel like that's a better way to validate whether or not the camera is actually good. Getting out and actually shooting with it in a real world scenario. The other reason is that it will actually make my job easier. There are aspects of the Canon R5 that, like the unlimited record time, it's something that I miss because I have the R6 and I have the R5, I have the R6 II and I have the R5, and like the interface on the top is different. With the R5 versus the R6 II, there's that whole difference in the way you turn it on and off. And so sometimes I'll bring both cameras with me and I'll forget, because maybe I'm shooting Astro like I was last weekend, and I would go, oh crap, I just turned the camera off. I thought I was in the R6 II, or vice versa. And so now that Canon has unified all those controls, it will like mentally, technically, functionally make operating both of those cameras just easier for me. What is this? What is this? That's a new accessory. Oh, a USB cable. I wonder if it's high speed or not. It says SS. It does say super speed and Canon, so it's a super speed, super USB Canon cable. Probably the camera that you want to charge, or the cable that you want to charge the camera with. This camera is easily the most fully featured mirrorless camera that Canon has made to date. And I've read quite a few articles that have said the same, where recently they've compared the Canon R5 II to the Sony A9 III or the Sony A1 or other Canon cameras. And when you look at the dynamic range noise charts and the ISO charts, it really is, it's impressive how good it is for the speed that's being offering. But it's also very interesting to see how close the performance on all of these cameras are. So more than ever, it makes it extremely hard to decide what camera brand to go with. Or maybe it's just easy because all the cameras are good. So this camera won't make my photography better. It won't make my photos better, but it might open some opportunities where before I may have missed the shot shooting 20 frames per second. Well, now shooting 30 frames per second, like if I'm doing some more motorsports photography and I need to get the shot in between the other shots, well, with the new batteries and the new burst mode, I can do that. Moment of truth. No! Should we do a wind tunnel and sniff test? Is that the thing to do? We gotta blow on our camera? The one thing I do like is that the mode dial is a lot bigger. So if I get the original, it just looks nicer when you're looking at it from top down. Actually, let's take the lens off here. So the screen on top is the same size. The button layout is roughly the same, but the camera is definitely taller. There's another top-down comparison. Ooh, new screens are always perfect. Like the clicking, the little nubbin joystick is now more like the R6 Mark II. So they kind of made it more pronounced, which I actually like. It's not as stiff. Maybe it's like a little bit smoother. The eye cup, the eyepiece, because of all those like eye auto detect features, it's way bigger, which although the viewfinder itself isn't physically that much bigger, it is very nice putting your eye up to it. I feel like I can stick my whole eyeball into it. And then there is your top-down view. So we have the new hot shoe protector cover. What are we collectively deciding to call this? What is this called? Does anyone know? Comment below. I swear, just trying the new camera, even just like operating it, makes me realize how all of like the springs and dials and things on my original R5 have kind of just been worn out over the years. Like the magnesium alloy, whatever the heck, the body has started to wear away at all those corners and all those points versus like the new camera, you know, nice and squeaky clean. Do we do a sensor reveal? Do I need to do a sensor reveal? Oh, well, of course. I gotta turn it on. Give me a second, I'll find a battery. Just a reminder that the Canon R5 Mark II will not work with third-party batteries. So thankfully, I have a working original OEM Canon battery. Shall we do this? Stack sensor, backside illuminated, all the good stuff. Let's cover it up real quick. One thing I noticed is that they also made the mode dial, the video photo mode dial, a little bit more recessed. So on the R6ii and the R5, obviously this is just the on-off switch. It's a little bit more protruded, it's a little bit more rectangular, whereas here, I'll zoom back in again, it's got like this extra protection around it so maybe you don't accidentally bump it. Kind of a nice, thoughtful revision to the design of the body. So this isn't me saying to buy this camera or to not buy this camera. This is me saying that cameras are tools, or the Canon R5 Mark II in this case is just a shiny, newer tool. At the end of the day, it might make a small difference for what I'm able to do or what I'm able to capture, but it's a very, very small difference. So whatever camera you have, use it, enjoy it, and above all else, take your camera, get out, and go shoot photos. R5 Mark II. Oh, my camera's about to run out.